Hey guys, here's an impromptu video. Um, Mainly because I didn't really have anything planned for today's release, and I do want to get back to the one video a day schedule, at least try to. So this is going to be a reply to Shoe0nHead's video on Heightism, and she asked for replies at the end of that video, so I'm gonna maybe do a rambling, off the cuff kind of thing. First of all, go watch her video. It's no secret to anyone that I'm a short guy. I'm 5'7", and being short is in the channel name. And yes, I have in fact experienced some form of heightism. Generally, it's in dating, which is honestly what you expect. Most heightism is in dating. Not all of it. There are definitely studies that have shown that short men, they make less money, all other things considered, compared to tall men. And I guess it's because, if you're taller, you're more likely to give off like an air of confidence. Or if you're taller, you're more likely to be attractive, and attractiveness privilege is absolutely a thing. Regardless of any other factor, if you're better looking, it doesn't matter what gender, doesn't matter what race, if you're better looking, if you're more in shape, if you're taller, these things, they grant a ton of privilege. Those privileges, along with class privilege, I think are probably significantly more important than anything like gender or sex privilege, anything like homophobia, anything like racial-based privilege. I think really it really is the case that all of the things that the SJWs ignore when it comes to their intersectionality, class, wealth, looks, height, physical fitness, all of those things that are largely ignored with the exception of fat activism, those are the things that matter the most. And I think it's telling that they're ignored in favor of things like race and gender and sexual preference. But anyway, we're talking about heightism. So let's talk about heightism. I have definitely been in a situation where you hear the whole, oh, only if you were taller I'd be interested in you, or even worse, you get those people who say like something along the lines of you have to be 6 foot or taller to ride on this ride. That kind of shallow bullshit. And it is shallow bullshit. But at the end of the day, it's completely reasonable to have a height preference in your romantic life. Just like it's reasonable to have a race preference. Or the most obvious one of all, a genital preference. When it comes to sex and relationships, it just makes the most sense to have these preferences. So no, it's not racism if you are less likely to date or have sex with or be interested in a black person because they're black. That's a preference. And the reason why, at least up until recently, sex has kind of overridden ideology is because of consent. The SJWs definitely put consent very high up in their priority list, with good reason. So for a very long time, it's been like, okay, so yes, we have to implement this equality that we seek, but at the same time, sex is like the one side area where equality is definitely important, but consent is more important, because you have to consent to doing certain things. Now, social justice has begun to abandon that position, in the past 5 years or so, where you get like trans women who say that if straight men aren't interested in them because they're trans, it's transphobia. And in that case, they've completely abandoned the idea of consent and replaced it with ideology. Now the ideology of trans acceptance is more important than the consent of the people actually having the sex. And that's obviously wrong. Like, objectively, obviously wrong. But that is kind of the, people going off the deep end, following their ideology blindly until it takes them to its natural endpoint. But in general, in terms of all reasonable-minded people who seek equality, consent acts as the bulwark against ideology. And this happens in terms of sex. So, for example, you're not racist if you don't consent to having sex with a black person. It also explains the wage gap. Women who choose not to work as much as men aren't going to get paid as much as men. And that's completely fine, because consent is more important than ideology. If everyone's doing what they want to do, if everyone's happy, if everyone's giving consent for what they want to be doing and not doing the things they don't consent to, then there's no injustice, even if that leads to some level of inequality somewhere. Now, we've gotten off track a little bit because, one, I'm a rambly bastard, but two, because it's all kind of connected. And this is where heightism comes into play. It is completely fine for somebody to reject you, short guys, because you're short. If they're not into you, they're not into you. There's definitely a physical element to sex, and you have to be attracted to your partner. Like, you could force it, you know? Let's say that you're not attracted to black women, but you're like, you know what? I'm going to try and force it for some reason. So you go out and you date a black woman, and you do your absolute best to fake it till you make it. And then, like, you get into bed, and, like, your dick's just not getting hard because you're just really not interested. You're just like, nope, not happening. You know, at some point, reality is going to snap back on you. So yes, it's completely reasonable for somebody to say, you know, you're not tall enough for me. What isn't reasonable is, I guess, when they're cruel about it. And I guess that's kind of the main rule. The main takeaway from this conversation is that you have to be classy about how you handle, but also how you dish out rejection. So, for example, if you're on Tinder and you like meet up with somebody, and by the way, in my opinion, don't use Tinder, don't use dating apps. They're fucking terrible. But let's just say you're on Tinder and you meet up with somebody, and this girl says, you know, I'm just not into somebody as short as you. No offense, but you know, this isn't going to work out. You know, she's done everything right if she's been polite about it. Now, maybe the guy's going to react really poorly, but that's his responsibility. If she's been polite about it, then she has kind of covered her bases. But then you get women, and yes, I've seen these women, and yes, these women have done it to me sometimes. It's not common, but it has happened, where they've said something along the lines of, you know, LOL, I can't believe this fucking man that even talked to me. Don't even approach me, shorty. Like, things like that. Stuff where you're just being rude and you're just being hurtful because it's something that they can't control. You know, like, imagine if it was a race thing, you know? Imagine if a black guy approaches a woman and she says, LOL, look at this black guy trying to approach me. That would actually be reasonably racist. And not only would it be racist, it would be really fucking rude. So it's definitely a matter less of heightism and more of being classy. Classy in how you dish out rejection, classy in how you take rejection, and classy in how you kind of handle yourself in general. There was that one thing that went viral a few years ago where it was a girl making fun of a guy for being too short by saying something along the lines of when his height starts with 5 foot. And then the guy replies with when her weight starts with 300 pounds. You know, and people jumped on this guy. They jumped down this guy's throat like, how fucking dare you? She can't. It's like, hold on a minute. First of all, she can definitely help being fat. Like, you can work out. You can go on a diet. This is coming from a fat guy. You know, like, I've lost a little bit of weight recently. You know, baby steps. I actually wore a pair of pants on stream for my Link cosplay for the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening stream on Twitch. I wore a pair of pants that hadn't fit me in about 6 months. So yeah, you know, baby steps. But the point is that weight's something you can handle. Height generally isn't, unless you're gonna go get one of those Chinese treatments where you like break the bones in your legs and like stretch them out a little bit and have them reheal. So you're like a quarter of an inch taller. Then you break them again. You just do that like 50 fucking times, and it's agonizing pain. Unless you're gonna do that, height is something that is less controllable than weight is, and yet we consider it somehow illegitimate to make fun of a woman for her weight, but it's completely fine to make fun of a man for his height. And I'm talking very generally. Like, obviously, you're going to find reasonable people who will not want you to do either. You're going to find good people in the world, and you're going to find bad people in the world. But it does seem to be more socially acceptable to make fun of men in general, no matter what you're making fun of them for. Because it seems like there's this expectation that men can take it a bit more. I'm not sure. Maybe. And I think on some level, that's definitely true. Like, male camaraderie is based on the fact that men fight with each other. They have arguments. They have physical fights sometimes. They make fun of each other all the time. Meanwhile, when women do that, it's generally quite ugly, and it's quite catty, and there's no like underlying camaraderie there. You know, if you see like guys in a workplace who are shitting on each other, it's usually for fun. And as long as you can take some of the humor with some good graces, you'll fit in. However, if you get like a bunch of women in a workplace who are shitting on each other, that gets catty really fast. And I think there is a gendered component to that interaction. And I think that interaction is what makes people think that it's all right to make fun of men for anything, including height. And I think that's probably the stem of heightism and why heightism is generally more accepted than other things. It might be a situation where like women see men fighting with men and then go like, oh, I can do that with them too. It's fine. And then they do it. But then the dynamic's different because it's not men, it's men and women. Or maybe it's the case that women see men fighting with each other and think that that's just like the fights they have with other women. And so they think that they can basically treat men like that because men are generally going to take it better. Like they don't know that there's a level of joking to it, but they're like, even though this is a serious complaint, you're a man, you can take it. You know, there's definitely an expectation of chivalry there that is somewhat unreasonable. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of spitballing ideas. And also keep in mind, I'm talking in generalizations, right? Like very obviously there are not men who do this or engage in this. There are very obviously not women who think this way. I'm talking very, very general. I'm just spitballing general ideas, as I said. But in regards to my own experiences with heightism, I have been in situations where people have rejected me because of my height, but they did so politely, and I was fine with it. You know, it hurt, obviously. You know, it always hurts when you get rejected, but it was fine. I've also been in situations where people have been dicks about it. They have just been complete fucking assholes about the whole height thing, and I realized, first of all, none of these women I've ever pursued. I just knew of them, or they were like friends of friends or something. And I realized, like, after getting to know them a little bit, just in a general social sense, most women who would judge that negatively based on height, I wouldn't want to be dating anyway, just due to other things in their personality. Like, if you're not going to be classy enough to reject somebody politely, and you're actually going to tease them about something they can't help, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be a pretty shit human being in other ways. So it almost always kind of works out like that. It kind of comes out in the end what type of person this is that you're dealing with. So if someone actually is being straight up heightist on the dating scene, you're probably not going to want to date them anyway. If they're making fun of you because you're short, you're probably not going to want them, because there's going to be a whole host of other issues behind the scenes there. And then you're going to find that there's a whole host of women out there, and this is probably, in my opinion, most women, they don't actually want a guy that's like 6 foot. They want someone who's just maybe taller than them. It doesn't need to be much taller. You know, I'm 5'7", my girlfriend is 5'2" or something. You know, I've dated a girl that was 5'4". I've dated a girl that was 5 foot. You know, it's definitely easy for like a 5'7" guy to find women that are shorter than him. And it's going to be like, okay, well, you know, that's enough. You know, you are 4 inches taller than me rather than 12. I'm still attracted to you. You know, if you're a 5'2" guy, there are definitely loads of 5 nothing or like 4'11" women out there. So it's not like you're doomed to be the king of the manlets, you know, the incel that talks about all these bitches who just want 6'4" dudes with 6'4" dicks. That's not how it works. And I think a lot of people, they use their height as a crutch as to why they don't have girlfriends. And it's just not the case, man. Like, there's other things going on. Maybe it's because your personality sucks. Maybe it's because you've gotten so bitter about women legitimately rejecting you in a poor manner, but you just let that kind of seep into your soul a little bit, and it's poisoned your own personality. And now you're passing on their bad mood that they shoved off onto you. Now you're passing it on to other people, and no one wants to be around you, you know? I'm not saying that there's not injustice. I'm not saying that there's not bad people out there. I'm saying that you have to control your own mood. You have to control your own personality. And you have to do the best you can with what you've been given. If you're a 5'2" guy, that doesn't mean that you have an excuse to go out there and be just a terrible fucking human being, and to treat everyone like shit, and to constantly assume the worst of people, and to think that you're never going to get anywhere romantically. You are obviously going to have an uphill fight, but the key is to fight it. When you turn into a whining bitch, you're not fighting it. When you turn into an incel or a school shooter or something, you're not fighting it. You become the problem. You become a far worse problem than some Tinder bitch who says you have to be 6 foot tall to ride on this ride. You become far worse than them. And if you don't let that negativity get to you, yeah, sooner or later, and to be honest, it'll probably be later rather than sooner, there will be a short girl out there for you, and things will be fine. And even if there's not, even if you go through your life without ever finding somebody that you're romantically in tune with, and you're just single for the rest of your life, there are still so many other things out there, man. Really. I have a relationship, but my life doesn't revolve around my relationship. People think that you have to have a relationship to have a complete life, and you don't. The relationship is the reward that you get for having an otherwise complete life. You have to have your other shit in order before you even become attractive, no matter what height you are. It's the fruits of your labor, in a sense. So everyone out there who doesn't have a relationship but wants one, and wants to just jump right to getting a relationship, you have to sort yourself out first. And sometimes that means getting in shape. Sometimes that means going to the gym. Sometimes that means losing some weight. Sometimes that means I don't know, getting an interesting hobby or a passion, or doing some traveling, or going back to school, or making a whole bunch of money. The relationship comes after those things, not before. Because a related concept to heightism is definitely like wealthism when it comes to dating. Because you get the gold diggers, right? You get the women who just want to go after the rich guys. And people in the incel community treat that with about as much disdain as the women who are looking for tall guys to fuck. And I understand it. It seems quite shallow. However, one, just like with the height chasers, you're just not going to want to date the gold diggers because they're going to have other qualities in their personality. But two, more importantly, women might be attracted to wealth, but they're more attracted to competence. So what I mean by that is, if you have two guys, and one of them is rich, but he's burning through his money because he inherited from his parents, and he's going to be broke soon. And the second guy's poor, but he's competent. And he might be able to actually earn his own money in the future because of whatever skill he's cultivating, or whatever degree he's getting, or whatever business he's trying to start. Your average woman will find the competent poor man much more attractive, all other things considered, than the rich man who is burning through his money. Because wealth is not the thing women are attracted to, generally. It's the measure of the thing that women are attracted to. And women are attracted to competence. They're attracted to competence, they're attracted to confidence, they're attracted to things that show that the guy is a fully rounded human being. He's not just a caricature of himself. And that's why people always say, get off social media, hit the gym, do some reading, go back to school, earn some money. Because those things are ways to kind of broaden your horizons and expand your character. And that's what's going to ultimately make you more attractive to women, not things like height. Height's important. Physical attractiveness is important. But that's just surface level stuff. If you're just interested in getting sex, then yeah, physical attractiveness is pretty much all you need. But if you want something more important, then it's only one part of the puzzle. And if you let it be the whole puzzle, you're just self-sabotaging. Anyway, that's my rant on heightism. It covered like 5 other topics because heightism, in my opinion, is honestly just a symptom of some larger problems. It's not actually that big of a deal. And if you're affected by it, just know that it gets better, and don't let it be an excuse to stop making yourself better as well. I'll talk to you guys later. I love you.